Peace and love. This is Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Leave with Logic podcast. You know the vibes. Welcome back, y'all. This is Brother Faheem, your gracious and humble host of the Leave with Logic podcast. Welcome back. Man, we have a super duper dope treat today. This is one of the best episodes yet, y'all. We got a super special guest by special request. Listen, I'm going to give her a formal introduction so that we can get into this most beneficial interview. So, she is a podcast host, podcast planner, FB manager for Podcasters for Newbies, podcast community owner and builder extraordinaire. She's a mother. She's an entrepreneur. She is a dope content creator, and she is a community activist. And in this moment right here, she's the current guest on the Leave of Logic podcast. This is none other than it is Dani Marie on podcast, on fan base, on YouTube, and my humble friend, Ms.Dani Marie. How you doing?
Oh man, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for having me on. Hello, everyone. This has been a very eventful day between the activities that we've been building on Fanbase, and then I just finished and wrapped my live podcast. So I do have a podcast with some co-hosts on the Lion's Den with Seth, and then now I have the pleasure of being here with you. So, and we're moving during the process. So very eventful, but I'm so happy to be here.
Hey, well, you handle it just like this is typical Dani, y'all. She's handling so many different things and making it look so very easy because as you guys are gonna find out, Dani is a mover and a shaker, and she's somebody to get it connected with. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some time out and being here.
Absolutely.
So let's get into this.
Let's
So
get
yeah,
it, shall we? Shall
yes.
we?
So I did a little research. Other than um meeting Miss Dani. Well, let me say this. Let me say this first, right? You guys know I'm on Fanbase as well. Fanbase is an app that was created by Mr. Isaac Hayes III, a black-owned app that allows content creators to post content and also gain revenue rather quickly, right? Very quickly. The more you post, the more engagement and interaction you get with the audience. They have the option to now give you love. And so it's a platform where we can now talk, but we can also be rewarded for our talks, our engagement, our vlogs, our videos, our bills, whatever value that we put out into the space. And so I'm on there quite often, putting my ear to the ground, meeting dope people like Dani. And I happened to do a room. I did a room, I think it was about what women want, if I can remember correctly. It was about what women want from guys. And we really wanted to focus and emphasize on women because I think a lot of times we talk at people, we don't always talk to them. And then, even deeper than that, when we talk to people, are we actively listening, right? When we're listening to people, are we are we listening the way we should so that we can understand and just not come back with a response? And so Dani here was one of the standout participants and people that interacted. She came on stage. She gave a very balanced and healthy perspective. She was not lean one way or the other. Sometimes men, we can say, oh, well, if the women did that, this and that. And the women can say, if you did that, this and this, and it can become a little bit antagonistic. It wasn't like that with Dani, and everyone noticed that. She had self accountability, she had insight to give from her experiences, and she had a lot of positive energy. And ever since that day, me and Dani have just been cool. We just been following one another. I follow her, and you see she got a mic on mute. You can unmute it, Dani. She got a mic on mute. She just look. See, that's what I'm saying. Dani just got good. She
What
has
you guys
good.
don't know is that any moment anything can pop off in my background. So I keep myself muted.
Yes, yes, and that's consistent with Dani because when Dani's talking, she's like, "Yo, I'm here. I'm doing such and such. I'm still here. Just I'm gonna come on as needed." And so through that room, me and Danny really made a connection. We spoke. I call it in the paper plane. That's a fancy way to say the DM, right? Because on Fanbase you got the paper plane. Excuse me. We spoke in the paper plane, and I just found out how much amazing things she was doing. And man, I was taught as a child, if you can't be the greatest, you can absolutely be a part of the greatest. You can contribute to the greatest. And Danny is one of the greatest content creators. She's one of the people that I've come into contact with. That's really positive. That's really going places. And so that's how we got right here, right now. And so,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. How long have you been on the app again?
fan base. Ooh, what is this? September? Maybe. Ooh, 3, 4 months. Not long.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
not long
got
at
you.
all. Not long at all. But so yeah, this is how we got here. And like I said, Danny has just been a pleasure. And before we get started, Danny had me on her show. She approached me. She
Right.
sent me a message through the paper plane and said, "Hey, listen, I would love for you to come on and speak to the people." And I said, "Of course." I was so flattered and humbled that she would even ask me that, because it's like Whitney Houston asking Michael Jackson to sing on her stage. It's like, dude, are you serious? You the voice. I mean, I can't. Yeah, I'll do it, but I'm honored and humble. But
Yeah.
so yeah,
Everything that you have said about me, I can just say to you 20 times over because you are that too. So, of course, I would love to have you on my platform. And that was such a beautiful dialogue with beautiful back and forth. So, thank you. And
yes.
we'll make sure that everybody has what they need so that they can follow back and listen to the replay and read that blog.
Yes, yes. Oh yeah. I was just telling Danny, she did a blog when she did the creators, when we did our initiative, and she's gonna get into what she does, where we can find her and all that great stuff. But she did an awesome vlog, y'all. This was the best vlog I've ever seen. And I've read a few of them because it was so poignant and it broke down the points. I think she knows something. She's on to something with podcasts that we need to tap into, especially for content creators. But Danny, tell us a little bit about yourself, right? Your upbringing, your life as a young girl, time as a student, you know what I'm saying? A little bit of high school, college, memorable experiences, just a little bit briefly. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah. So I always get so humbled when I hear positive things about myself because believe it or not, I grew up as a ratchet rebel kid. And I think that's a lot of us, right? Even when people hear me speak, they're like, oh my goodness, you're just so polite. But I used to be reckless. So I grew up in a single parent household. I'm so grateful for my mother. And life comes full circle once you have kids. You understand what your parents went through and the sacrifices that they've made. But I grew up in a single parent household to a military family. My mother and father separated when I was 2 years old. She chose to stay here in Washington State. My father went back home. So my mother's from Chicago, Illinois. My father is from Detroit, Michigan, and I am born and raised here in Washington State. So I feel like I got a mixture of me, a mix in me, but nonetheless, just growing up in a single parent household can bring its own set of challenges. When you are fighting for attention or in the care of different families because maybe your mother has to work, there's just different people coming in and out of your life. There can be some residue left on you. So from 16, I guess I just kind of grew up with a lot of resentment with the physical absence of my father and the emotional absence of my mom, being as though she was always working, trying to take care of the household. So at 16, I didn't do well in school, had a bad attitude. Everyone would always say, hey, she could put, she can, she's smart if she puts her best foot forward. But ultimately, 16 years old, I went to Job Corps. And I think that's when my pivot happened at 16, when I had to be shipped away, I would say. So from 16, I just started to look at life a little differently. And I started to understand and value education a lot more because it took me having to fail the same grade, go to alternative school, and then have to be shipped away to Job Corps. But ultimately, when I met my match, Mary Huber, she was my first mentor who said, you're not just going to be a statistic, you're going to go out, do well. So that kind of pushed me into having a greater appreciation for college. And so I took the baby steps and went from, you know, an associate's to a bachelor's to a master's. And right now, although I'm not actively using my master's degree because I was laid off during the pandemic, but I can use those credentials to coach and be a consultant. And that's what I'm doing now. So I was laid off during the pandemic. At that time, I became a new mom. My dad passed away after my son's first birthday. And then that's basically what pushed me into podcasting. That became my saving grace, just needing an outlet. To me, podcasting is a form of therapy, although some people might believe you shouldn't just be putting all your business out there like that. I think anything that helps. So for me, podcasting was my saving grace because I was going through a lot of transition at the time, as we all were.
Mm-hmm.
So just coming from a single parent household, trying to figure it out, life happened. And then becoming an adult when I was met with getting laid off, having children, and losing my dad at one time. And now a podcaster and coaching and teaching and trying to show people that if you have a voice, if you are an expert in your respective field, you should definitely have a podcast because it helps you vent. It helps you build community. It helps you build relationships. It helps you become an expert and branch off. So that's me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Man, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, that it's crazy because out of tragedy can come such beauty and can come such uh success, right? It can be what they say, sometimes things can be a blessing in disguise, because what I read about you and what I saw about you, you seem to always be very articulate, very expressive, right? And so this probably opened up that opportunity for you, Danny, to engage in that. You know what I mean? So one door truly uh, opened another one, right? And you're moving. Go
I
ahead.
agree with you. I agree with you. I feel like just life, through all the things that I've been through, homelessness, loss of multiple children because God at the time didn't see fit. Those things just, built character and built the person that I am today. And so now I look at life, with the glass half full mentality. And I'm just grateful for every obstacle because it just made me a better person. And so, yeah, it's the diamond in the rough, you to keep churning and keep pushing. And then you get this masterpiece at the end. So I'm grateful.
Listen, that's the only way to be. You know what I'm saying? Your attitude always determines your latitude. So
Right.
being grateful is a great state to be in, right? And the taxes are free there. So, um, listen,
Amen. Look, I get it.
listen, um, if you will. So where are you from? And if you would like your trip, you could share your trips around the sun. That's up to you. You know what I'm saying? Where you from and how old you
Yes.
are,
So
because you have such wisdom.
Ooh, the older I get, the more I don't know, the more I realize I don't know anything.
Amen to that.
But believe it or not, they say black don't crack. So
It does not. It does not.
I'm actually 38 and I'm here in Washington State. So people know Seattle, but I am 30 minutes of Seattle in Tacoma, more of where we are at. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Whenever I think of Seattle, I always think of what do you say?
The
Is
Space
it
Needle,
no, no, not Seattle.
supersonic.
Whenever I think of Washington, I think of Seattle. I'm saying whenever I think of Seattle, but I'm thinking whenever I think Washington. It's part of age, y'all. That
Hmm.
brain fog. But no, yeah, whenever I
Most
think of
people,
Washington.
they don't even think of us. They just think of DC. So yeah, people are like Washington D.C. I'm like, no, the state. The capital is Olympia. Yeah, we're
Yes.
all the way over here in the Pacific Northwest. But if you get out here, it's very pretty. We're also known for being a very rainy state.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's Washington State. But the military, a big military base out here. You have the naval base, you have the Air Force, you have the Army. So yeah, that's why people would normally be here. People are normally transplants from a different part of the country.
It's kind of like that in Atlanta. They call it
Hmm.
transplanter because people are from different. Yeah, people are from different places, and
Yeah.
they come through, and it gives the city a different flavor. Whenever you
Right.
get different places that come in the mix of one, even like that's to me that's the big thing with New York, Danny, and Los Angeles. That's the only thing that's different is you get a multitude and a variation of culture, and it
Right.
gives you a mini experience. It almost allows you to use a domestic passport, if you will, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, Washington is a district, y'all. It's not even a state. People don't realize that it's a district. Washington State is way out west,
Right.
but you
Right.
always think, see, I always think of Seattle and the fish market
That's right.
whenever I think of Seattle. But Tacoma, that's where okay, because I know Seattle's pretty expensive. Um,
Yes, it is.
it's super expensive. So a couple of you talked about going to Job Corps. You talked about being raised by a single mom and having a little bit of resentment for, how you
Mhm.
were brought up, as a lot of us do. Can you discuss a few of those character forming experiences you had as a young girl that still carry with you today, Danny? Can you go into that with us?
Mm. I tell people I'm still a 12, I don't have any shame in saying it. I'm still a 12-year-old trapped in a 38-year-old's body because I'm still trying to grapple with a lot of the stuff that I went through. I'm
Mm,
still figuring it out. And I'm now just now giving myself permission to accept the past and be able to move forward.
mm,
But even when it comes to having conversations with people, I'm just now learning how to have healthy dialogue. A lot of that residue is still on me from always feeling like you need to have the last word when you're having
mm,
a back and forth with someone,
mm.
always feeling like, and I'm a Taurus too. I don't know if everybody's into,
Ooh, that's that bull.
yeah. So just like this, like I'm
Mm,
always right, never wrong.
mm,
So that's literally how I've lived my entire life. And it took me having children to finally figure it out. Uh-oh. Um, you guys, a lot of things have been happening, so I'm not paying attention to the power on my laptop. But even with having exchanges, positive exchanges with my mom,
mm,
and feeling like, okay, she let me just let her have it. Just those are the things I'm still learning and still figuring out at this big age that I have. And I think it's okay to say that.
mm,
The earlier that you can confront that and be okay with that, the earlier and quicker you can get over it and get to the next phase of life. But it's just very bullheaded, very much alpha, very much. I had to do a lot of the things on my own growing up, latchkey kid.
mm,
So now that I've pretty much, you know, I've always worked multiple jobs at one time, always had to get through college myself, learning how to enroll myself. So just very much, I got this, and realizing at 38, no, I don't. But again, it took having kids to really see what my mom went through, and I'm just so grateful for her now more than ever. So when you asked some of those experiences, it's just I think getting in my own way. That's the crux of it. Is just getting in my own way. So much so that I'm now at this big age still learning lessons that I should have got ahead of a long time ago.
Hey, I understand it. But to give yourself some grace, Danny, no one is ever going to be perfect. And they say when you get to be perfect, you're probably 6 feet up under the ground and nobody can really appreciate it anyway. So I tell my children, practice doesn't make perfect, it makes progress because that gives you a little bit of a more attainable and kind of a more practical way to look at it because you're always moving. You're always trying to refine what it is that you have, and in doing that it gives you a little bit of something to look forward to, and it also helps you emotionally because sometimes perfection, it's almost like moving the goalpost, right? It's like as soon as you get here then it's something else, so you got to keep going. And then what you said about just having learned how to communicate. Hey, Danny, you've been in fan bases just like I have. A lot of people haven't learned how to communicate. It's a lot of back and forths. It's a lot of cutting off. It's a lot of not hearing. And it's also a lot of coming from an emotion or a logical or irrational reference point when we're speaking, right? And so that prohibits proper and efficient communication. But I tell y'all, Danny is one of the better communicators uh, on fan base, right? And she has her rooms. You know, like I said, we're gonna get into it. She has a debate room and all this. I'm gonna let her tell y'all about what she does. But I can see it though. That's probably fun. Now with knowing what you're saying,
Right.
these different rooms are probably entertaining for you, Danny. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of avatar out and let people kind of have at it. But
Yes, that's a lesson you'll learn, like sometimes I think, and I don't know in the specific passage, but in the Bible, just basically a wise person knows when to, speak and when to kind of sit back.
for
So
sure,
that's the, something that we can all learn from, and something that I try to get better at every day.
for sure. Um, Now I saw a clip when you were talking about. It was a very great clip. I might even play it. You were speaking about family, right? And how your family had helped you out. And it made me ask, I said, I'm gonna ask her this now. I'm gonna say these slow, just because it's three questions, right? How number one, how important to you is family? Uh what does family mean to you, Danny? And how do you define family? I wanted to ask those. So take your time with them, sis.
Mm. Okay, so I heard 2 and 3, but repeat them again because I feel like there's some parallels, there's similar. So
Yeah,
how do you
absolutely.
define? Go ahead.
How important is family to you?
Okay.
Right? That's number one. And then what does family mean? You know what? Yeah, I'll just do it like this because they are parallel. You're right. Now that you say that, I can see how they're kind of the same. So it's just two questions. How
Okay.
important is family to you? And what we'll say like this, what does family mean to you? I'll put it like that.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, I'm here in Washington State, and most of my family is in Ohio, the DMV area, St. Louis. No one is out here in Washington State except for my mother, my brother, and now my 2 children. So we do have an older cousin, but we're still kind of estranged. So family is very important because it's only been up until I had my children 2 years ago. It's only been us three out here in Washington State. Um, so family looks different for everyone, but for me, no one can move me, shift me, make me, unless I, allow them to. But when it comes to my brother and my mom, they can trigger me, they can push my buttons. And it's because we are so interlocked. We are so tight as a family unit because it's only been us to hold each other down. And I'm 38, my brother's 34. So family is extremely important in terms of how they've both influenced and shaped me. Their opinions of me matter. What they think I'm capable of matters. So family is very important. And now that I have my 2 children, mother bear, right? So just making sure that I can do my absolute best to build them to be incredible human beings is my earnest desire. But I don't really have the same relationship that I have with neither my mother's side or my father's side of the family. It's literally been us out here, and I'm cool with that. I do wish that we had a stronger relationship. I wish I could say I knew, our family history, and that's something that I want to get better at so that I can
Hmm.
share that with my 2 boys.
Hmm.
But, family is different for everybody. Now, how do I define family? I feel like, family is what you make it. It could be friends, it can be by blood, it can be by just people that you've built relationship with over time. Um, Anyone that can critique you, who's not going to be an ego or echo chamber, who's
Hmm.
always going to be your yes man,
Hmm.
who really has your best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
um, that's how I define family. People who want to see you elevate in every facet of the word. And again, it doesn't have to be blood because, again, I haven't always had that. You know,
Absolutely.
how
No.
do you define family?
Hey, that see, this about. I ain't gonna get like Noriega. You know, Nori on Drink Champs. You know, he be cutting them
This is
off.
about me.
Yeah, this is all about Danny Marie. But I'll say this: I'm not. I'm in alignment with what you're saying. You
Mhm.
know, they say blood is thicker than mud. Not all the time. You
Mhm.
know, different intangibles make us family, and it's not always biology because we really don't have control over that, right? There's relatives and then there's family. You can't control who you're related to, but you absolutely control who you allow into your close cipher, your close environment to become your family, right? And so, yeah, everything you said is absolutely important and it's absolutely critical because in the end, in the when all is said and done and all is done and said, family should be the ones that they're the ones that are going to come to the morgue and identify you. So that says it
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
That says it all. It's your family members. They always put who's your next of kin. They're asking who is your family. So that's wonderful though. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's you're pretty strong. But I knew you were strong just from paying attention to you and watching you in the spaces, right?
Bless, bless.
Um, so now, again, going off of that video, as a person actively engaged in community service, how important is community to you, Miss
Mhm.
Marie?
Yeah.
And I say that because I'm gonna say this, not to cut you off, please. I'm sorry. As a middle schooler, watch this, guys. She organized and created or put together a cancer relay for life team, and that was her initial entry point into community service and community activism, which is awesome because, like you said, Danny, even though you might have been wayward, that tells us you still had a conscience. You still
Yeah.
knew inside, hey, there's something bigger for me. I have a purpose, and I value my community, and I want to help. So, how important is community to you, Miss Marie?
Yeah. So I will say that, growing up, like I said, in a single parent household, you have to rely on your village, you have to rely on community. And so I think that's where it started, being raised in the church and, always in the church, meaning that you're also a part of all the auxiliaries. I think having that community around me in the church also motivated me to branch out. So I just don't like to see anyone not have, anyone lack. I don't like to see the underdogs. So I'm always just trying to be present and give and share and whatever that looks like, from feeding the homeless communities to going to the Red Cross when that was a thing. Um, so I've always just been an avid supporter of people and very community oriented, as I said in that video. So at that time, it was actually for my birthday that I decided to put that cancer relay for life. So that was something for myself that I did, but it was also to give back because I know of people who have passed away due to cancer. I'm sure we all know someone. And the mission was just so much bigger than me. So that was a great experience. So your responsibility as a host or a captain, if you will, is to just find people who would be on your team and you all take turns running around. And it's like a 24-hour event. So at that time, that was at the Stadium High School, a big stadium, and we all camped around and we had a vigil service and candle lit and candlelight, or how candlelight vigil, is that how you say it? I think so.
Candlelight vigil.
Vigil. And very, very, very beautiful service. And, just honoring the people who are no longer with us and the people who have gotten over that situation, that terrible disease. So, community is important to me because I know what it's like to not have. I know what it's like to be in need. Like I said, I've been homeless before. I've lost everything. I've had everything. But I just think about what it was like and who poured into my mom when she needed it the most. And I'm just trying to push that forward for the people who don't have. And if we don't look out for one another, then look at our economy, look at the world. When we continue to turn a blind eye to everybody and we see people on the street who don't have, and we turn our nose up to those people, it doesn't serve any of us well in the long run. So it's
Not
always
at
best
all.
to look out for folks. Yeah. Community is everything.
What an answer! What an answer! And absolutely, I agree with it. Yeah, community is everything. And it don't. I like to stay humble. I like to always read stories about people who attain great success and wealth, but nonetheless, they still kept that common touch. They still kept in touch with their past and those experiences that uh, caused for them to be where they were. Because as soon as you forget, you can also forget that you can be right back there at any moment, at any whim. So, yeah, that's pretty dope. And
And when you give, to your point, when you give, it'll continue to be added to you, right?
that's right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, the universe has a way of continuing. That reciprocity is what you're talking about. It
yeah,
reciprocates. It regenerates. Giving gives compound interest, ladies and gentlemen. That's what
that's
Miss
it.
Marie was just saying.
Yeah.
And so, yes, yes, yes. Staying with that community service. What was it about your parents, family, or community that inspired that desire to give back, Danny? What was it about those three that you saw that impressed upon you? Because, like I say, you talked about being wayward, but still something inside of you was just in you that you wanted to give back. What was it about those three, one of them or all of those groups that made you want to really put in there, hey, we have to be responsible to the community?
What was it? What was it? I don't know. Oh my goodness. Um, I don't know. I think I just seen, even from being at the family dinners, I just see all the women in my family who would just pitch in and clean up the kitchen. So just women of service. And not all related to me. I'm talking about the church family that adopted my family when we came here to Washington State. So
Hmm.
just to be, you know, surrounded by people who don't know us but decided to just give us everything and include us in their family. I think
Hmm.
that was also a part of it. And again, just being in church. Hold on, because this is pre-recorded, right?
Yeah, it's pre-recorded.
I had no idea we didn't have no chair.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It is
I'm like, we
all
didn't
good.
think this
This
through.
is Hey, this is real, y'all. This is real life. What we are witnessing. This is dope. This is hey, what can you say? This is on the run. This is real. This is the new brand of podcasting. This is real, unedited, raw.
So we're moving. And we did not think this through. We didn't, when you're in the middle of moving, you don't know if you're going to stay at the old house in the process of moving or go to the new house and stay. So, Lord. Um, so yeah, you guys are going to see me going.
Lower and lower. It happens. Lower and lower.
I'm on a laundry basket.
I ain't mad at you. Listen, I'm still messing with my light. I'm still not satisfied with my lighting. But go ahead,
Oh,
I'm listening to you.
you look great. So just being surrounded by a family who adopted us in, that was number one. I
Hmm.
think that just showed me leadership. It showed me passion and compassion for people. And then again, in church, you see some people who are we lived right next to MLK. Okay. So you just saw all sorts of people coming in and out of the church home who needed things. And then our pastor, always poured into my mother behind closed doors when we didn't have. From the pastor got me a car when I needed one. So I've always been someone that needed, and people took care of me. And I think that's what inspired me to do the same. So it's just being around people who cared so much about me. And I felt like the outpouring of love is what made me want to give back. And hopefully that answers the question because I was mildly distracted.
No, I'm you answered it. I got my son helping me. You can't see him. He said if you notice the light is changing. I told him I try to be slick and tell him, as you can see the light on my
Oh, I see. Yes.
on the microphone. No,
Happens to me all the
it
time, my
does. It happens
babies.
to the best of us. No, hey, a bad product is better than no product at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Get it done. Get it done. No, no, y'all. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Sorry, y'all. But yes, yes. That is awesome. That is awesome. So you drew from the community. Sounds like what I heard was that you drew a lot of motivation from what you observed, right? She looked, listened, and observed and internalized it. So see, super, you've been this way, super receptive, super absorbent and super observant,
Yeah.
absorbent and observant, and that caused you to naturally say, "Hey, I appreciate this, and how do I reciprocate? How do I give this back? How do I keep my cup overflowing? If, like Shakespeare, my cuppeth overfloweth, or something like that is." But
Right.
so that's dope. That is super dope. Also, I saw where you mentioned podcasting help you find my voice again. I thought this was so dope,
Mhm.
y'all. I thought this was so dope. She said, help me find my voice again. So can you get into the complexities of that? Meaning, like,
Mhm.
what was it that made you lose your voice? And how did podcasting, how has it made you or helped you find your voice, Miss Marie?
Yeah. Life be life in you guys. I know you know that, but
For sure. For sure.
it's so like true. And to the point that it can make you very jaded. It can make you very angry. And in my case, resentful, jaded, and angry, all of those.
Yeah.
So that's a part of, that zeal that I kind of grew up with, the passion of helping people. And I like that question now that I'm seeing it all unfold. Kind of made me a jaded person growing up. Life just got in the way, having to be bogged down with life and the things that life will throw at you can kind of take your zeal away and your passion for helping and supporting. And it's like now every man for themselves because now I got to get it out the
Right.
mud and I'm
That's right.
grinding. So that is a part of where I lost my voice. Just having, like I said, I grew up just since I couldn't get it from family sometimes, like I said, my mom and my dad, and I had to do a lot of things by myself. And that led me to overworking myself. Like I looked at my work history and I've literally worked two, sometimes three jobs at the same time for the last 10 to 11 years prior to me having my first child. So life life made me very jaded and very rough around the edges and created this shell of a person in some ways. So podcasting, when I was on that podcast with my mother, it was all about, okay, let me get down to the nitty gritty things that we've never talked about. So on that podcast we discussed mental health, childhood trauma, generational curses, and the stigmas that society can place on single people. On that podcast, things that we unearthed, to be very candid, we talked about, me getting molested, in the care of other people. My mom
Mm.
said the same thing happened to me. So those were the things we talked about. I'm just going to be on the floor with it, you guys.
Yeah, please be comfortable, Danny. We
Okay.
real people. Yeah, just be comfortable. There you go. Just get
Um,
comfortable.
So on that podcast, we talked about, me being molested, having a promiscuous lifestyle, and I'm very transparent with that. And did the absence of a father, a man in the house, kind of set the tone for this lifestyle? We talked about, I had my brother on the panel and I asked him, because a lot of times single women have a tendency to make their sons their man.
For
And so
sure.
we had a chance to ask him that question. Did this impact you in any way? So we had very frank conversations, and I'm so grateful for my mother for being willing. And
Hmm.
I think it was so necessary to have those conversations.
Hmm.
And like I said, I'm happy to say that I understand her better,
Hmm.
because we had those conversations. And
Hmm.
when you don't talk about those things, there's only assumptions and again, resentment.
Yes.
So yeah, the podcast was the mother and daughter duo podcast was like the first podcast, and it just opened the floodgates. And so from there, I'm like, you can't get me to shut up. I just want to talk, 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 and I want to hear these stories. And so almost 8 different podcasts later, here I am, in a very short span of time, because it just unlocked the new layer, the next reiteration of Dani Marie.
Mm. Oh
Yeah.
wow, that was a lot,
Yes,
you
we had
guys.
a
That
lot
was
of
a
fun
lot,
on
you
that
guys.
podcast.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a lot. It's funny when you think about people be going through sexual assault and molestation.
Right.
It's crazy that we had to come to the realization that a lot of it is people who we know,
Yeah. And
people
it
who we
was.
have. Yeah, a lot of it's people who we have close contact with, and people who we would never suspect. As a child, I remember thinking, when you think of a pedophile, you think of this crazy lunatic driving around in an ice cream truck, kind of fooling people. Hey kids, come on, get in the truck. Let me
Right.
show you what ice cream. It's so the opposite, y'all. It's
It's Uncle Joe and cousin Bob. Yeah.
absolutely, it makes you reconsider. It's older children molesting younger children.
Yeah.
It's uncles and aunts that seem so harmless and so loving, but when everybody's gone, they are a total devil and a total beast. And so,
Absolutely. And still at the cookouts to this day.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a whole Danny. That's a whole nother topic when we talk about our culture and
Yeah.
what you know what I mean. Are we really controlling? Are we really concerned about the future of our culture?
Right.
But yeah, so I can identify with what you're saying, and I can empathize and sympathize. And
Yeah.
like you said, being promiscuous, I think all of us went through that,
Yeah.
due for one reason or another. I don't think it's only. Yeah, I think it's validity in what you're saying, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
only the absence of a parent. I think it's feeling unseen. I think
Right.
it's feeling unloved, because I knew young ladies who had two parents, Danny, and they were still super promiscuous. And it's like, dude, what's going on. And now that's not to say that there wasn't dysfunction in there, because just
Right.
because people are uh present does not mean that they're actually active, right? Just because you
Right.
go to work and you're there doesn't mean you're there working.
That's
You
right.
could just be there. But I say that to say that is a lot of people's experience that I've come in contact with, right? And it's very, very common, you guys. If y'all talk to some of your mothers, daughters, aunts, and even uncles, maybe fathers, and it's not just the ladies, you might be shocked at what they tell you about deep, dark secrets from when they were children, and who
Yeah.
you might even be amazed by who they revealed did it to him. That's the it's all crazy, but that's the scary, scary part. Go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say very quickly, and again, I can't stress enough how important having that conversation with my mom was, because
Hmm.
not everyone has that pleasure just to get clarity, because parents do kind of put that boundary up, a hard boundary. We'll never talk about this, but sometimes it's important to know, Mom, what did you go through? Did you ever experience this? And without that communication, sometimes you find yourself in compromising positions, or sometimes you find yourself off course because your parents talked at you and told
Hmm.
you what not to do, but they never really talked to you and told you the reasons why, their
Hmm.
reasoning and logic to help inform you about your decision making. So I'm grateful to her for that, that she was so willing. But yes, it's very necessary.
Listen, as you should be. Look, now this is a precursor question, right? I got all my questions written down, y'all. um, Tell me about your relationship with your mom. And I asked because
Hmm.
the question I'm getting to, what the question I'm getting to is about the mother daughter podcast. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, I saw you breathe deep. What's the relationship with mommy like?
Presently, we're pretty good. I would say a year ago, maybe not so much, but it was a dysfunctional relationship because um, there were times where I was codependent on her, even when I didn't want to be, but
Hmm.
I needed her at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Or she's always just been that helicopter mom, a worrisome mom, a very protective mom, the
Hmm.
moms that will never let you do anything. She's also a very conservative mother, and I'm very opposite of her in a lot of different ways.
Hmm.
I'm more like a Gone with the Wind, fabulous butterfly, just all over the place. And she's more like, no, be here. Very, very straight and narrow. Like I said, she's from the military background. She's like, dress right, dress. And I'm just coloring outside of the lines always. And I think you said that before. Um, so we always, and again, but very bullheaded.
Hmm.
So we always just bump heads. And, the one thing I would regret which I don't have many regrets. I always say no regrets, just good lessons learned. But it is just having a very slick mouth when it came to my mom, because sometimes we hurt people.
That's
And at
right.
times she was the easiest person to lash out at. And like
Hmm.
I said, very resentful, because she's actually told us on the podcast, I would come home and I would check out. So if you can imagine a daughter just wanting a relationship, and like I said, my father not around, who else? It's going to be my mom. I'm looking for her to cultivate a relationship between us. And unfortunately, because life bogged her down and she was working, um, we never had that opportunity. So I became very resentful. And then, like I said, at 16, I'm already going to Job Corps. So again, not with my family. So I was very resentful. I would never go as far as to say like a hate or strong hate, but just like, man, you just missed so many opportunities, mom, to get it right. And then, you know, having the abuse that I went through, and we never talked about that. And then now we're just now talking about this at the time when I was 34 years old. So it's a lot, but again, if you live long enough, you will soon understand what your parents go through and that they're only doing the very best that they can. And so I have to chalk it up to my mother never did anything out of spite, or just, because people have a lot of different stories. So there's parents who literally cause their children harm. My mother always tried to get it right, but just unfortunately, life got in the way of that. So the relationship was strained only because of the resentment that I held against her. But again, having children is helping me to understand her more, and her seeing me now as an adult just now after having children is allowing for us to have stronger conversations and relate on a different level. So I'm grateful again for my mother, my mama.
That's dope. Something I'll say before I move forward. You know, we don't know what parents go through until we're put in that position. The most popular example I can give you guys is Michael Jackson gave a speech when he went over to Oxford when he was a father, right? And he talked about, Joe Jackson, because they paint Joe as a monster, right? Here's
Hmm.
this black man who took his family out of squalor and poverty into the annals of history, right? The Jacksons will forever be they're in a class of their own, and that was done by not only Catherine but the vision and the hard work that Joe put in, and so we all, I think, those of us who love the Jacksons, I'm sure you do, Danny.
Hmm.
We understand that they had a different relationship. They would call him Joseph, and it was very professional. And you can understand how that, to a child, like you just said, wanting to build a relationship, that can be hurtful. Um, but you don't really know the motivation behind it. You don't know what they went through, and you don't know
Right.
what their upbringing was and how they responded. Because guess what? Your parents are liable and susceptible to the same vices, temptations, and weaknesses that you are. They just might respond differently than you might be able to. You might be able to respond in a more positive. But he said, uh, becoming a father, it let me know that my father did love me. And that kind of reminded me of what you just said.
Mm.
Hey, my mother wanted the best for me. She never did anything maliciously. It was just life
Right.
got in the way. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, life gets in the way for a lot of us. And it's important. It's important. It's important. I'm gonna say that again. It's important, important, important that we don't judge our parents, that we try to love them and try to offer them understanding, because
That's right.
guess what? You're gonna be in that seat one day. And how are you gonna respond? And would you want that sympathy? Yes, you would. So try offering it, because you never know. So my next point is,
R.I.P.
oh,
Tito.
yes, 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 yes. RIP. And I don't know if I sent you the bill that I did about Tito. Did you see that? I
Mm-mm.
did yeah, I did a build about Tito. I was talking about Tito and his relevance to the black community. Yeah.
No,
Tito.
I didn't.
Absolutely. Yes. Tito was he's one of my favorites. I like Tito specifically because he was so laid back. He reminds me of me. Whenever you saw Tito speaking, he was real cool, real even keel, real poignant, real precise,
Right.
and I love that about him. Tariano was his name. Tito was the nickname. But yeah,
See, I learned something today.
absolutely.
Hmm.
So yeah, you told us about that relationship. Now tell us how you and mom constructed this podcast, right? How did y'all come up with the concept? How did y'all say, you know what? We need to get on camera and not only speak our minds, but we need to give other people an opportunity to see what it looks like to do the same. Because from what I'm hearing from you, Danny, and from you guys that are listening and watching, it's therapeutic what she's doing. This is her purpose because, like she said, it became somewhat of an outlet. It became where she could express. So, how did you and mom come up with it, Danny?
There wasn't much. There wasn't much construction. Is that a word? I told her she was going to do the podcast,
And
and
she
she
did
was
it.
willing. Yeah, so it wasn't a lot of brainstorming. It was like, okay, I'm about to have a child,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of stuff that we have not addressed, and before I bring a child into this world, I need some clarity about a few things. And so that was the origin of the Mother and Daughter Duo podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, and in fact, in one of our first episodes, I said, how do you feel? We're here. And she's like, I'm going to give you what I got. And that was what she said, because it was very much just go with the flow and lack of planning. So I knew that I wanted to talk about those four things because those were things that were personal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health. I'm
Mm-hmm.
struggling right now. Like I'm laid off. I have people that I need to care for, and I have no income to provide for them. Two, generational curses. How can we, because we're now both single moms,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you do this for all of my life, and here I am doing the same thing. So why didn't I learn my lesson? Why am I still here in the same predicament? How can we break these generational curses? Childhood trauma. Mom, what did you go through and how did that impact me? And then let me find out if there is anything that I went through that I have not addressed yet that I can kind of course correct while I have an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then the societal stigmas that single people face. At first, it was single moms, but I
Mm-hmm.
realized men were listening to us a lot more than women. So I figured maybe they were looking for an aha moment to kind of talk bad about us because maybe they thought that's what our podcast was going to be about. But
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless, they stuck around. So it became single people because
Mm-hmm.
I know that a lot of people who become solo or single parents get a lot of backlash because you found yourself in this situation. You could have avoided this at all costs. You're a no good person for becoming a single person. So I just wanted to kind of get ahead of the curve by having these healthy discussions because I really wanted to be the best parent I could be. So that's how the podcast came about.
Wonderful. And you touched on it, a couple of the themes: generational curses, childhood trauma. Uh, but something you didn't mention that I think is very, very important is societal stigmas that people face, and also a money mindset.
Oh, yes.
A
That
money
came
mind,
down the line. That's true. Yeah.
yeah, money mindset. And so it's crazy whenever people say a money mindset. I wonder, Danny, do people really want a money mindset? Do people really want to adopt that? They say they do, but it takes work. It's not
Yeah.
easy
Yeah.
because it's like eating in America, right? We've been conditioned and trained to be consumers and to eat against our health in favor of taste. It's the same with consumption and money mindset. We've been taught to eat, right, our money up and just save it and not invest it against our
Mhm.
long-term well-being. So I always wonder, people say that they want to change financially and fiscally, but do they really want to, you know what I'm saying? And I, myself included, do we really want to do the work that it takes to get you to
Mhm.
where that 1% is? Because I guarantee you, those that got there, not the ones that were inherited there, but that worked their way, that was
Right.
a fight and crawl and scratch and bloody nail type of process. So do we
For
really want
sure.
that journey? You know what I'm saying? Do we really want that journey, Danny? That's what I be asking myself.
Yeah, that see that I forgot it because I forgot that that was one of the pillars, if you will, because it's
Hmm.
not where we started off with. It's not anything I had in mind initially, but to break the curses, a lot of it is tied to putting your family in position. You know, we talk about your families who show up for you when you die. Sometimes when they show up, it's a back and forth about who should get the money because we did not put ourselves in a better position. Sometimes it's
Absolutely.
not even a we can't even focus on the journey that you had and the beautiful life that you had because now we're just talking about who should get what because we didn't properly set ourselves up for the future. We didn't, you know, have a trust fund. We did not allocate money. We did not appoint the right people. So now it's a catfish cookout and it's not even to be funny, but that's literally what happens and it's very unfortunate. So I forgot about that. But I am very interested in for the sake of my children in setting them up for a better and promising future. So like how can we start, you know, we used to put bills in our children's name, but how can we put, you know, a funding or a policy in our children's name? How can we put a business in their name at 7 and not set them up for failure before they even hit 18 years old? So money mindset is definitely a long game.
Hmm.
It is going to be, you know, something that has to change here first, but it
Hmm.
is very necessary.
For sure, for sure. You also mentioned, I heard where you mentioned having a platform where you could amplify other community voices, and how these experiences empowered you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and helped you find yourself and identify, right? Um, are all your platforms engaged in amplifying community voices? That's the first. We wind down to the
Yeah,
last few questions, and then we're gonna get into a little bit of leading with logic, right?
I love that.
Uh, so have all your platforms, are they all centered around uh, amplifying voices? And while you're doing that, Danny, I'm gonna pull up your link tree. I'm gonna pull up your YouTube so that the audience can now
Amazing
see.
homework, y'all.
Yeah. So that oh, hey, that's why we do it big over here at Leading with
Yes.
Logic. You know.
Yes. Okay. So I'll just run them down very quickly. We had Mother and Daughter Duo podcast,
Hmm.
which was probably more selfishly the only one about me, but still my family and my bloodline and my legacy. At the end of it. Then we moved to Motivation Monday Mommy Meetup. So it was about giving a platform to all moms who balance personal life and professional life. And a lot of women came on that platform and shared their story. And they said that unanimously, this platform really helps a lot of women who feel like they're doing this in isolation. So in that case, we gave a lot of women the voice and the platform to talk about their innermost secrets, opinions, thoughts about what they were battling with. We had Life Unscripted with Dani Marie. So on that platform, we had people come out of the closet, believe it or not. We had a
Oh
woman who
wow.
talked about, yes, we had a woman talk about her story. She was in a marriage that she was not happy in. So she, you know, left that marriage and is living a more happy, fulfilled life. So yes, my platforms are all about, and then we had Follow Me Friday where you can come on, get your 15 minutes, claim of fame, and talk about who you are, what you do, and why people should follow and support you. So Mother and Daughter Do a Podcast is probably the only podcast about me. Everything else, all other 7 platforms have been about giving people the platform to talk about who they are, what they're doing, and inspiring other people. And I think it's important because when people talk about themselves, that feels good. There's self gratification there, but then also it's community building because now people are more inclined to follow you based on the fact that they've seen you on Follow Me Friday or Life Unscripted. So, yes, all of my platforms are about amplifying voices. And even when it was about me, a lot of women were able to resonate with the stories that my mother and I shared. And through that, they've also, you know, been able to shed a few things themselves through our stories. So, yes, absolutely.
I love that. I love that. What I brought up here, you guys, is Danny's. YouTube, and she has 587. I expect her to have, how many followers do I have?
Yes.
233. Whatever the math,
Follow.
whenever the math on that is, I expect her to be have 233 more
Come
subscribers
on now.
because she's doing such amazing work.
So I
Um,
want to say, because since you have this, I have to be transparent. I'm
mhm,
still, a lot of my stuff is just not listed to the public. So don't think
mhm.
that the last video is so old. I'm still posting on that. But you have to go to fan base if you want to get some of that exclusive content. So it's still me publishing videos on a weekly basis, but you just don't see it because it's behind a wall. So we want you to come over to fan base.
Listen, you heard what the lady said. Fan base is where she's uh, constructed her honeycomb hideout, her
Yes,
headquarters,
right.
her headquarters. But you do update this though, right? You do put some stuff on here, on,
Hmm.
and there
So
you
you
have it.
can do private and unlisted videos. So a lot of it is not listed to the public, but yes, I do.
There you go. And on this page, right? You have different different videos, right? She has her lives on here. Um, this thing is, my service gets nervous
Oh,
sometimes.
sure. Happens to me all the
There you
time.
go. She has the lives, you know, and it's pretty. It's dive in the discussion spotlight Black podcast. There you see Danny right there. Then you click on it. Yeah, you see her doing her thing, right? Just I
Mhm.
mean, doing her thing, going in and listen. I always say, if you get one view, then you have done something wonderful.
That's right.
And a lot of these look wonderful, Danny. What you
Yeah,
like? You have some pretty interesting people, man. I can see how
we
you got all.
have. And yeah, you
Yeah,
can go to, I think, the playlist, but you'll see the differences with the cover art. But yeah, you can go to the playlist and see all those different shows that we've had.
there you
They're
go.
compartmentalized. Yeah.
Podcast news and review, Zoom to pod, content creator creation and podcasting tips. Uh, what is that? Peers in the space. Follow me Friday. Life unscripted. Throw it back Thursday. M4 motivation Monday. Mommy meetup. I like that M4. Y'all see what she did there, y'all? M4 motivation Monday. Mommy
Yes,
meetup.
right.
The four M's. That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm gonna stop sharing this and start sharing this other one. I got the link tree on here, and I'm gonna show you. Oh
Right.
yeah, I had to hook you up, man. I had to hook you up.
Thank you.
We gotta get people your handle. We gotta get people so they can know where you are
Yeah.
and how they can get with you, Danny. And hold on, while we
So
doing,
on
I'm
the link tree, as it's pulling up, it's all podcasting resource related stuff on that link tree. And you go ahead, feel free.
no, that's right. Go ahead. You got it. You can take it over.
So yeah, so everything from like a free starter kit, you can. I think we need to update it, which I try not to ever have a situation where we need to update, but I think you'll have to, or I will have to update that first one. But um, there's an interview up there so you can learn more about me as a podcast strategist. So the work that I do, I think towards the bottom, there's a free starter kit. So just learning the very basics to get you started. There's that about me page with my big face plastered on there. Maybe fan base is even on there somewhere. So you can follow me on fan base. We have a pre-launch checklist for $9.99 if you want to get started with your podcast. So yeah, everything in terms of resources to get you started. And then if you toggle up top, there's a shop list. So I am an Amazon affiliate. If you want to start a podcast, click that shop list and there's nope, up, logic right next to
I
the
see it. I see it right
okay,
here.
okay. Yes. Thank you for that. So there's just some like the top things that you can purchase to get started with your podcast. But yes, feel free, you guys, check that link tree out. It's what linkt dot no linktr dot ee / it is Dani Marie. But yeah, a lot of resources for you.
Now, thank you so much, Danny. I'm gonna also stop this real quick, but Danny, while I'm
Mhm.
pulling up the fan base, if you'll give me 2 minutes at most, because we're gonna go into the last section of the interview
Yes.
where we get into some lead with logic topics, right? You said you were able to find yourself and identify after this journey that you have been on, Job Corps, going
Love
through what
this.
you went through as a young person, mending things, being strong, being brilliant, and being beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, how have being empowered, right, and also championing other people uh, to have their empowered voice. Who is Dani Marie? Who do you identify as? Obviously, she's a mom. I think she's momming right now. But
Yes.
who? How do you
Mhm.
identify? Who is Dani Marie? Tell us real fast.
Mm. Dani Marie is a overall passionate person, compassionate person, a person of service, a person of faith, and I'm a connector. I love to connect people. I love to empower people, uplift people, and that's who I am. Everything else is the icing on the cake, but overall, just want to champion people, see them do well, and through that, I'm fulfilled.
I love that. I love that. This is where you can get the exclusive Creator Elevation Camp content behind the paywalls. This is where I met the lovely Dani Marie. This is fan base you can have. It's a little bit like Instagram, but not really. But
Agreed.
right, aesthetically, right, the UX experience, the interface is similar. Whereas you have your post, right? You got your post right here. Let me click on so y'all can see. Here, your post right here. Then you have your flicks, which is the videos, right? This is all Danny's videos,
Which
right?
I don't do much of.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. And then you have your fan base. Oh, look at who is
Wait a minute. Hold up.
who's not who's that lady? Who's that
Woo!
man? No, I can't sing. Who's
Y'all
that
see
man?
them.
Something like that. Something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here go all her conversations. Creator elevation, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
is where you can find Miss Marie. Uh,
Yes.
and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's the interview. Then it's funny. That was the interview that I was talking about. That one,
Mm-hmm.
this one right here. So yes, yes, y'all gotta follow Miss Dani Marie. Go to all her handles. Follow, especially on Fanbase, because that's where you're gonna get the most up to date, the most current, the
Correct.
quickest. She'll be translating over to YouTube, I'm sure, at some point. But Fanbase is for that exclusive. It's the difference between TV land and prime time.
That's
So
good. Yes.
so this is the portion of the interview, guys, where we get into some lead with logic topics. So let me say this. You guys know who I am. I always give my spiel about, who I am and what I do. Um, I'll just cut it a little short and say I take the mundane, controversial, and sensational, and through literature, write books, articles, peer review journals, documentaries, documentary clips, news articles, news clips. Right, that's a new one, right, Danny? I don't normally say news
Mm-hmm.
articles and news clips, but news articles.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could count that under articles. That's kind of mundane or redundant, but nonetheless, I teach critical thought, critical analysis, analytical research, right? So that we can now extract the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And I
Mm-hmm.
take those topics, like I said, that are controversial. Now,
Mm-mm.
there's always an underlined, uh, there's always an underlying, uh, there's always something happening, right? With all instances. And we just have to be able to extract it. We have to know what we're looking at, right? A person looking at some coal, they don't realize that with a little polish and a little refinement, that's a diamond that they have in their hand.
Mm.
That's a
That's
diamond.
good.
But if you don't know, if you don't have the knowledge, right, and the wisdom to understand what you have, then it'll get by you, it'll get past you. Such is the same with a lot of these events and current events that are happening now. The recent current event that I think is
Mm-mm.
all over the airwaves, right?
Mm-mm.
It's some entertainment news. Mr. Sean Puffy Combs. He has found himself in quite the pickle. And we've seen this play before. If we've really been watching, we've seen this play. We know how this movie ends. Um, so I would like to ask you, because you championing voices, right, for people, right, to empower people. A lot of what I've
Mhm.
heard has been about, sex trafficking. It's been about domestic violence, which we witnessed, right?
Right.
Him and Cassie. We saw that a few months ago. Uh, we have a lot of the themes are abuse of power and just an out of control ego. And the media is really painting Mr. Combs as this Lucifer type figure.
Yeah.
So I really would like to get your perspective on everything, or at least as you see it, what um, and how would you
Right.
discuss that? You know what I mean? I would love to hear how you would discuss that because this is a super intelligent, super insightful being.
Look, except for when it comes to stuff like that. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah.
Okay, so my name means, my name is Danielle, but Daniel meaning God is my judge. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I lead with life. That only God has the final say. Only God has a hell or heaven to put you in. So I'm going to say in preface by saying that. I will also add that I do not subscribe to cancel culture. And, people have anyone that is causing physical harm or who is putting people in compromising positions, as you just laid out about the diddler. He's been coined as the diddler. They have a lot of demons that they're fighting and battling with. And for that, I give a lot of compassion. I will say that we did see the video, so he can't really, when it comes to him and Cassie, there's no real escaping that. Like we physically saw you assault someone. So
Mm-hmm.
to that was very egregious, very disgusting. Everything else,
Mm-hmm.
although it's a very long list that dates, many years, almost decades back. I think it froze. Um, there's always been speculation, but nothing to confirm any of the things that we have heard about Mr. Diddy himself. So I'm just gonna say that I'm praying for that man. God bless that man. I think at the end of it, the people that are really suffering the most are his children.
Mm.
Um, Very unfortunate that you know their dad is plastered all over the news, the outlets, on social media, and not in
Mm-hmm.
the best light. And so I can only imagine what those young people are going through. But God has a final say and justice will be served. But I also will say that, and I'll close by saying, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna, what do we call it on fan base, dock my yacht or land my plane.
Yeah, land my plane.
I'll say that, you know serving life in prison for what he did, I think that is probably unfair justice. Um,
Mm.
and I see, not that we should ever be matching up, but I questioned Hugh Hefner and what he did in his household, and was he getting the same type of treatment? And I
Mm.
do see that black men, are just not given the same amount of fairness as our white uh
Counterparts.
counterparts, right?
Yes.
So I do know that there are people, and people have pointed this out, that when he felt he was being treated unfairly in that partnership that he has with, I think,
That
Ciroc,
liquor company,
the liquor
yes.
company, that's when all of this started to come out, unearth. So there could be some stuff there too. And there's people out there who just don't want to see us win. We've seen that from everything that we've done. From I don't know, I can't even think of anything, but the Black Renaissance, when we were really dominating, and people came in and took that. Whatever we try to build, people try to come and take it away from us, because I feel we are the elite. Okay.
I agree.
um, so we just have to be very mindful that there are people who will try to spin. And is curtail the word? They would just try to come
Yep,
in and
that's the
try
word.
to
Curtailed. Yep.
curtail a situation and paint somebody out to be not the best, because there's a bigger agenda at hand. So just be very mindful of that when you're kind of perpetuating these stories, which I also have been a part of.
Hmm.
But again, also, we all have skeletons in our closet and we all have demons that we face every day. So just give some grace and let God do it. Let God work that situation out.
Hey, listen. I'm gonna speak a little piece, and I'm gonna end it because we had an hour 15. But remember what I told you about when I ended.
Okay,
Remember what I
yes.
said.
Yes.
Um, I love that. I love that what you said, and that's very fair. That's very logical. That's very reasonable. Again, leading with logic, letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation.
Powerful.
Thank you. Um, Everything that Miss Marie said, I concur with 1,000,000%. But I'll add this on to what she said. I'm always amazed at how quickly our people jump on to negativity, how fast we are to throw ourselves up under the bus. You heard Miss Marie say she has to wonder about our counterparts who are wealthy and affluent. What's their treatment? Do they get drugged through the mud in the media? Do they get convicted of being guilty in the court of public opinion way before they get to the court of law? And we've seen it, right? Bill Cosby served
Mm-hmm.
36 months, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, and he was innocent, y'all. They had the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania had to release him, right? Because of the specifics of the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, without knowing the specifics, without knowing law, I'm always amazed at how my people, black people, can just throw our people under the bus. And by the way, it's funny because on Friday, when George Floyd is killed, we don't trust the government. When Emmett
Mm-hmm.
Till is killed, we don't trust the government. When so many sisters like Sonia Massey is killed, Sandra Bland, we don't trust the government. But as soon as we see a black man, an affluent, wealthy, successful black man, whom we're probably a little bitter, envious, and jealous of to begin with,
Nail
as,
them to the cross.
as soon as we
Mm-hmm.
see where, man, whew, it's not looking good. I told you he wasn't nothing. He
Mm-hmm.
guilty. Yep. I
Everybody
told
has a story right now out about him.
everybody got a story. See, I'm gonna shout out my man CEO Push. He said that's weirdo stuff. I don't know if you were in there, Dan. I think you were in there the other
I don't
night.
think so. No.
We
Oh
were
wait, no,
talking
no.
about.
Yes, I was. Yes.
We were
He's like, I
talking.
don't want to keep talking about this. I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about it. Mm-hmm.
Um. Well, he spoke about it and he said something I wanted to say. He said when we were talking about how all these people, all these different celebrities, now they have stories, right, Danny? Now everybody has a Diddy
Right.
story. He said that's weirdo stuff. If you cared about justice, why you didn't say nothing when it was
Okay.
happening?
Maybe I wasn't then.
Yeah, you weren't there. But yeah, and so but like Danny said, it's best that we give grace and mercy because like she said about her mother, like we say in humanity, we don't know what lot will be casted upon us tomorrow. So
Mm-hmm.
it's best that we at least try to have humility and grace so that when it's our turn to be in the valley, we can be extended a little grace and mercy. So
Mm-hmm.
um, Danny, listen, tell the good people, tell the good people about your handles and what upcoming events that you have and where we can find you because we certainly want to support.
Yeah. It is I, Dani Marie, across LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, fan base, and upcoming projects. I'm releasing an ebook very soon, which is like the 52 Weeks to Podcasting Success. That's September 30th because that's International Podcasters Day. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah. So I just found that out. So anything that you're doing, like if you have a business, try to go find all of the international holidays that surround with
I
your
will.
business so you can
Yeah.
line it up. So International Podcasters Day is September 30th. So we're launching an ebook and we are doing a new podcast, Talk Tacoma, which I haven't told anyone about until we have a few episodes recorded. And that's important to
Mm.
me because, like I said, leaving a legacy for my boys. I want people to know and them to know about Tacoma and what it's like growing up here. What does that really mean? So
Mhm.
we're starting to interview a lot of people behind the scenes
Mhm.
who are doing something aligned with community, education, tech or media, wellness, and business. So that's coming out probably for the holidays. So you guys can have stuff to binge listen to over this season. Yep.
Hey, I'm gonna do what Danny's classic for when y'all come on fan base. Brr, 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 brr. I gotta get that.
That bell horn.
Right. Brr, 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 brr. Listen, I would tell you guys, go to the store, grab
Looks
the
really good. Really good.
gear, leave with logic7.com. Pick up some nice shirts, pick up some nice hoodies. It's getting ready to be hoodie season. We got some new lines coming out. I got some stuff that I think that people will really enjoy. Y'all go over there and check it out. Again, leave with logic7.com. And also y'all hop on. It is Dani Marie. And just follow this sister. Like I said, I'm expecting when I go back to her YouTube for that to have increased by at least 233 more people. So, Danny, listen, man, what a superstar you are, and what a bright shining star, supernova. And I want to say thank you for two things. Obviously, for coming on my show and honoring my audience and my stage with your presence, but also for reaching out, man, and showing me that humility, for being the beautiful sister that you are and the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul that you possess. I know that you're a superstar, and I also know that the sky is not the limit; it is just the floor. And like Haley's comment, people are gonna see you, and so I just hope that they can appreciate it as much as I do. So thank you so much. Um, yes, y'all. Listen, don't go nowhere, Danny. We, we are going to wrap it up. Listen, this was another awesome, awesome, awesome episode of Lead with Logic, and I am your humble, gracious host. Always, always, always thankful, always proud, always ready to give y'all some insight. Listen, like I always tell y'all, may we meet again in the light of understanding. Uh, Peace and love, y'all. Peace and love.